this was longly anticipated. And oh, look at I'm on the 3rd chapter, sorry. For God's sake, I haven't done one of these in a week and I can't get it right. This is what I call me being a freaking musical production. So anyway, I hope you guys are liking the vlogs. Apparently not, because they're some of my least watched videos. So I'm back with another read aloud. The first 4 chapters of, here's the title, Bad Moon Rising, by Bekka911. I love her. She's amazing. Let's get into it. They never managed to fix the gaping wound that Virgil had created when he had abandoned them. It mocked them from every corner, haunted their snarls and whispers. Virgil had abandoned them, yes, but they would never forget him. He still had a place among them. He was still theirs. Deceit had been the first one to step forward and interact with their host. Thomas, naive little Thomas, had become too fixed on the bright and good. He'd become too stuck on being such a lovely little saint. Thomas had made Virgil too lax, too unbothered. Thomas had made Virgil think he'd escaped them. Deceit didn't like being ignored and forgotten. He didn't like losing. He especially didn't like Virgil's insolent actions, because despite the new color and the new friendships he'd formed, he'd been a dark side first. So Deceit donned the persona of lovely little Patton and watched Virgil figure it out. Deceit smiled with Patton's mouth, and he spoke with Patton's voice, but he looked with his own eyes. Virgil saw. Virgil knew. They had not forgotten him. They had not let him go. Virgil, buddy! I said that with half Deceit's voice, half Patton's voice. So yeah, I'm just gonna try that again, I'm sorry. Virgil, buddy, he said with Patton's voice. I know you weren't too keen on it at first, but come on! Could you stand to lose the support of one as Thomas's friends? Oh, that was a spasm. Okay. Virgil's eyes narrowed, and something on his face darkened. Playing this game was too easy. Well, yeah, Thomas's friends make me more at ease, Virgil said, voice low and angry. But Thomas Lonnie would make me just as uneasy, and anyone who doesn't understand that should just shut up. Virgil, it's me. Aren't we friends? Double meanings. It was always about double meanings, and Virgil knew it. Deceit had won this round. And so he revealed himself. Thomas was so gullible, honestly. He planned to stick around longer, just to wreak havoc, but real Patton had ruined it all, and he retreated. Still, he had achieved victory. Virgil had remembered them. Virgil remembered his true heritage. He was theirs. Always was, always will be. There was no escaping them. They would not abandon him like he abandoned them. When Deceit returned to them and he told them of his victory, they rejoiced. Virgil's treachery had been festering inside them, and they were bitter and twisted. Virgil had betrayed them, had forsaken them to be with the light sides, and now Thomas was living a lie. Thomas was living as though he was a good person, an honest person, a person without faults. Virgil was helping him maintain that lie. Virgil would eradicate his own kind. Virgil would come back to them. Deceit vowed it. And so he came forth once more, like a magnet. He drew Virgil out, and they were face to face once more. Deceit's mouth curved into a wicked grin. Let the games begin. Except this time, the game wasn't focused solely on Virgil. This time, Deceit's furry. Deceit's a furry! Does being a snake suit count as a furry? I don't know anymore. Help me. Deceit's fury and bitterness was aimed at I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Deceit's fury and bitterness was aimed at everybody, Thomas included, because his host simply didn't understand the layers he had. Thus, despite Virgil fighting tooth and nail to get him to leave, Deceit stayed. It was all too easy. He argued with the silly little sides in the courtroom. He said, "Takes a liar to know a liar." just to see Virgil get dangerously pale, and he amused himself with pushing them all as much as he could. If he was already here, may as well break some hearts. I'd like to call my next witness to the stand, he said, adjusting his suit. Virgil! Oh my god, oh my god. I'd like to call my next witness to the stand, he said, adjusting his suit. Virgil, like the mature side he obviously was, Virgil just blew a raspberry. Fine. Deceit could play dirty. Very well, then. You don't usually have anything helpful to add anyway. Okay, Virgil snarled from the witness stand. Ask me your questions. Too easy. Deceit smirked a predatory smirk because Virgil was just too easy to mess with. He knew that Deceit would do to get him back. He knew what Deceit would do if they couldn't get him back. You are in control of Thomas's fears, are you not? Oh my god! We all know each other. Who are these clarifications for? Virgil slammed his hand on the stand. Cut to the chase! Is it true that once you said that weddings are outdated, overly expensive pageantry? Well, yeah, I also once swore to Thomas that the drink he left alone in the other room for 10 seconds was definitely poisoned, and if he drank it, he would die. I'm not exactly a beacon of truth. It was too easy to get him riled up, too easy to push the wrong buttons. Deceit welcomed the panic anger and misdirected fear. Virgil was remembering. Virgil was worried. Virgil knew. He drawled. So you've changed your mind then? And Virgil replied with, next question. Deceit chuckled. Come on, Virgil, play with me. Very well. As Thomas's anxiety, do you have any relevant information about his never-pedestrian levels in regard to these two conflicting commitments? As one of us, do you have anything to tell them? Virgil's eyes got a little bit wilder. I think it's ridiculous that anyone is entertaining any of this. Guys, he is a liar. You literally know him as Deceit. Glass houses, Virgil, Deceit chided. You yourself said that you are not a beacon of truth. Yeah, 'cause I'm wrong a lot. Oh, so you've never had anything relevant to share with the group then? Virgil's voice got dangerously low. Don't. Deceit's smirk widened. Gotcha. What? He said innocently. I just meant your name. Don't. Maybe that's why it's so easy for you to recognize me for what I am. Come on, Virgil, you're one of us. Like I said before, it takes a liar to know a liar. Play the game, Virgil. Remember who you are. What you are. There was a steely glint in Virgil's eyes. Deceit wasn't bothered. Virgil was always defensive, even when he was in his rightful place. Deceit knew. They knew. They would get him back. Also, FYI, the story does backtrack from the main storyline in tomorrow. So this is not after he was crying in Patton's bedroom and all that. Sorry if you didn't watch my last one or read the book. It kind of just did a spoiler warning. So this takes place before, in this chapter. It's either this chapter or next chapter. He goes and starts making fun of Patton, bothering him in his room. So we're gonna just do the reads. Deceit didn't like to lose. That was why, when he won the courtroom but lost overall because his host was so naive, he disappeared fuming. Patton had to feed him. Stupid, naive little side. Not even his victory over Virgil could soothe the flaming irritation that burned in his chest. It wasn't fair that he was disregarded and mocked because of his purpose, of his traits, just because he was a dark side. Virgil was a dark side, and they accepted and listened to him. There was a sour taste in his mouth when he gathered with the others. Fools, he hissed. A lot of them, prejudiced fools. I thought perhaps you had more control than this, another voice drawled, and Deceit glared at the Duke. Remus simply grinned wickedly. "Do not," Deceit said lowly, "accuse me of having no control. If I had no control, I would have dragged Virgil back to us kicking and screaming. As it is, I am playing this game that is going on too far for my liking." There was a shift in the darkness as a form moved. A voice purred. "This is your game, Deceit. It is nobody's fault but your own if you are losing it." Deceit bared his teeth, giving up on composure. To hell with his reputation when Virgil insisted on refusing his family. They'd been the ones to accept him, to comfort him, to encourage him, and he dared to turn his back on them. Deceit refused to stand for it. No, Virgil would come back to them. He would come back to them, even if Deceit had to annihilate him from the others to force him to do so. Virgil thought he could ignore them, that he could defy them. Deceit could crush everybody that Virgil cared about. Everybody, just to prove that Virgil would never be free of them. He was theirs. He would crush Patton if he had to, and he would make Virgil watch. Keep up the personal growth, Virgil. Who knows? Maybe one day you could be rid of us all. Someone mocked from the shadows. "You don't seem to be trying very hard to see. Your games go strange and boring. Perhaps, when the opportunity arises, another may present themselves to our host." Wait, that's Remus, sorry. "Eventually, Virgil will crack and confess that he's one of us. Once he does, we will have him with us once more." Deceit did not like to lose, but he hated to surrender even more. Waving the white flag was something he refused to do, especially when the matter was personal, and this was very personal. They'd been betrayed, been abandoned, and now they wanted him back. "Send Remus," he said through gritted teeth. "He'll be enough to disarm Thomas, and he'll divide the others. Besides, Roman is struggling to hold himself together. One visit from Brother Dearest should be enough to break him." Enough chittering. A chittering laugh scuttled through the dark around them. Deceit tensed slightly. "They are weak," a voice rasped. "They cannot stop us all. Virgil will be returned to us soon. Have no fear." Deceit straightened his clothes and squashed him, flaming indignation and rage. "I don't feel fear." "You can bet your bottom dollar that I'll be able to crack them," the Duke says gleefully. "Even when he was with us, Virgil hated me the most." Well, Deceit couldn't disagree there. The Duke has less grace about him. He was wild, unrestrained, vulgar, demented. He had no regard for some sophistication, and so both Deceit and Virgil held a certain disdain for him. "Listen," he said sharply. "Thomas wishes to be more honest with himself, more direct in how he deals with dilemmas. He doesn't want to lie to himself about who he is. Exploit that and you'll be able to throw him off balance." The Duke cackled maniacally. "My dear snake, I'll be explicit." Well, if this didn't put enough pressure on Virgil, Deceit would have to just return with an army, because Virgil would be coming back to them. None of them were found of betrayers, of deserters. Virgil would come back to them, where he would watch his friends be crushed, one by one. And perhaps he might see what dearest little Patton was up to. If he wound away into their little group, he might as well start burning bridges now. The Duke felt like he had less of a personal vendetta against Virgil, honestly. He wasn't offended by the abandonment, nor did he feel he Or did he feel that Virgil was ignoring his history? He'd rather thought that Virgil was doing well to gloss over the fact that he had history. Of course, Remus couldn't tell him to do that, but it was impressive nonetheless. He was, however, just as desperate as Deceit to have Virgil back with them in his rightful place. It hadn't been fair he just up and left them like that he'd been welcomed by the others so easily. Bunch of cheesy, useless do-gooders. They stolen Virgil from the dark sides. He had taken him away and brainwashed him, and now Remus was going to take him back. If he failed, he would incur Deceit's wrath. The others would murmur the disappointment, but it would be Deceit who would take action, and Remus was almost weary of the outburst that would happen. Deceit didn't care. Deceit didn't like to be discarded and abandoned. If he didn't get Virgil to admit to his past, God help everyone. In his personal opinion, though, he was starting to believe that they had truly lost Virgil to the light sides. He knew personally how adultery the good Roman could be, the prick, and how easy it was to give into the boisterous positivity. Remus's lips curled hastily. He would be better about Rowan forever. How could someone so pretty and clean possibly be so welcome and treasured? Virgil had left them all for Roman. Now Remus might believe that fighting for Virgil was a losing battle, but he had enough anger and bitterness and vindictiveness to destroy as much as he could. Virgil was one of them, one of the dark sides, and he would never forget it. The third. Patton's room had an overwhelming smell of citrus, and Deceit hissed quietly to himself. He could bear Patton's rapid breathing, could almost feel the self-deprecation in the air. He could play for a little while, he supposed. He'd see how Patton reacted, see how much fun Deceit could have messing with Virgil's favorite light side. "You're doing the right thing, you know," he purred, slinking out into the open. The brief terror that spread through Patton's eyes made Deceit choose for him. Too bad the game was cut short as Patton started singing quietly to himself. Fine. Deceit could play that. He had things to do anyway. Things that need his attention more than Patton did right now. "You think you can protect him forever." He kept his voice soft and gentle because Patton needed a friend right now. Deceit could be that for a little while. Patton would need him eventually. And as soon as the day dawned, Deceit would ruin them. Virgil could learn that the dark sides were his real family. Deceit vowed it. "Please reconsider," he breathed into Patton, and then he let the shadows sweep him away. He'd sworn the seeds of doubt, now to let the garden grow. "You're playing the long game," Remus said conversationally as Deceit paced. "Trust me, I love long things, but this is a borderline ridiculous. My dear snake in the grass, why not just go to Virgil directly?" Unfortunately, the Duke brought up a good point. Why didn't Deceit go to Virgil? Deceit didn't have an honest answer. "I want him to come to us," he said, he hissed, lying through gritted teeth. That was what his spectacality was, dishonesty. Remus wasn't owed an answer. Deceit could do whatever he wanted. He wasn't some petulant child who needed a babysitter. "I want him to remember, and I want those memories to drive him here, to force him away from his pleasant little friends and make him come home." Remus gave a considering look of oddly solemn. Deceit glared back. "You know," Remus said slowly, something twisted making his eyes look sharp and bright. Deceit's glare intensified. "This seems to go beyond getting Virgil back for us. What's so personal about this, Dee Dee? Why are you so insistent on getting him back, and why are you so upset by the light sides. Deceit grounded his teeth together in frustration, and Remus was getting too close, asking too many questions that Deceit couldn't answer. There were too many whys floating around. He didn't know why. He didn't know. I want him back where he belongs. He spat through gritted teeth. I hate people who pretend. Remus gave him a knowing hum. Because Deceit had just given himself away. You pretend, do you not? And no, that's not what Deceit meant at all. Damn it, he shouted slowly. I am dishonest, Duke, and I lie. I do not pretend. Deceit's face was burning with indulgent rage when Remus strutted away, crackling to himself. For a liar, the snake was really bad at lying. Why didn't he confront Virgil himself? Why not come out and say it? Why make the game stretch on longer than it had to? Maybe because Deceit wanted to destroy Virgil's relationship with the light sides. If they weren't friends, if they were angry at him or scared of him, Virgil would be running back to the dark sides. He would run home, and nobody would come after him to bring him back. Yes, that sounded right. That didn't sound like a lie. Still, Deceit was troubled as he slipped into the shadows and felt something cold grip into his soul. Time is running out, Deceit, a voice hissed from the darkness, and Deceit couldn't stop the chills that broke out across his skin. Tick, tock, tick, tock, tick, tock. I get it, he growled lowly, eyes flickering back and forth, trying to find where the voices was coming from. He found nothing but unending, icky black. Something dangerously close to fear crushed his chest, squeezed his throat, crippled his heartbeat. He loathed the feeling. He loathed it. I want this to be easy. The voice let out a breathy laugh, and Deceit struggled a bit harder. The shadows didn't let him go. Tick-tock, Deceit, the voice whispered. Tick-tock. All too suddenly, he could breathe again, and he stumbled out of the darkness into his room. Stupid, stupid, stupid. It was stupid to think that he could wriggle out of this one. The others were expectant now, were waiting for him to bring Virgil back to them. They missed him. They wanted him. Something sour gripped him, and he knocked the bowler hat off his head and ruffled his hair, hissing to himself. He just wanted Virgil back. Was that such a bad thing? He wanted Virgil back because it wasn't fair that Virgil could just walk away and leave him alone and not care. Virgil didn't get to rest easy. Virgil was supposed to always look over his shoulder, keep one eye on the shadows. How far the dark sides had fallen. Virgil had tricked himself into forming some form of bond. How utterly foolish. Deceit bared his teeth, pacing. He'd get Virgil back for them. He would sweep it, and he would burn it all. Remus could go to hell with his questions. Deceit was doing this for Virgil, and that was all. Virgil needed to be back with them, with his family. He was doing it for Virgil. The shadows choked on mocking laughs as he slipped away again, face set in a grim determination. The 4th. He sat in the Patton's room again, the citrus smell less comforting and more familiar. Deceit still wanted to gag, feeling the scent stuff itself up his nose and down his throat. These damn light sides, their sensitivities. Deceit despised them. How could Virgil stand to be around them? Just being in Patton's room made Deceit's head hurt, made his stomach turn, made his skin itch. Every atom in his body was beginning to flee. Flee. Get out. Get out. He wasn't made to be here. He wasn't supposed to be here. Where were the shadows? Why was it so bright and not heavy? And why? Deceit threw himself back into the darkness moments before Patton appeared in his room.
Deceit almost let himself be sucked back into his own room, but something about Patton's face gave him pause. The lights of his eyes were cold and faint, filled with twisted emotion. Deceit had never identified immortality before. He almost wanted to reach into Patton's soul and dip a finger into the darkening mark. He wanted to pull the thread and watch Patton unravel. How deceivingly vicious would it be? "You know, Patton, you're an astonishingly complex being," he crooned, stalking out of the shadows. Patton's heat glare fell upon him, and Deceit almost shuddered. He'd never seen Patton look so dark. He smiled. "When I imitated you the first time, it was almost too easy, too boring. How dull it was to play you, with the others rendering you as nothing more than an over-emotional fool who knew nothing of value." Patton's eyes flared brighter, and there was something defended there too, and Deceit smirked, forgetting his own troubles when exploiting Patton was so enjoyable. He let himself go a little and giggled, feeling something hysterically maniacal claw its way up his throat. The Duke must have inflected him with something. "Such power you hold over them," Deceit purred quietly, feeling the sense of power sent him higher and higher. "Such power you have over Thomas. You're truly the most important side." For once, he wasn't really lying. "Stop it," this Patton said quietly, but where Deceit expected a pleading tone of voice, there was nothing but a dry sense of finality. The light side hummed to himself, expression flat. He had to push harder, had to dig his fingers in a little tighter. "If I were to imitate you again, it would be far more difficult, I expect. So many complex layers, complex, tangled emotions." Deceit peered into Patton's eyes, and his malicious grin widened. "Denial? That's one of my personal favorites. Seriously, cross my heart." There was a devilish anger that slimmed overflow of negativity and fear and self-deprecation. Deceit had been waiting for it to come out. He had been waiting to see how deep the rabbit hole really went. "I think that you're only scary because you don't want to admit what you mean for Thomas." Wait, no, this was Patton. "I think that you're only scary because you don't want to admit what you mean for Thomas." She raised an eyebrow because maybe Patton thought he sounded steady, but there was a sort of wild worry to him that made Deceit feel so much better. "Listen," Patton continued, "I don't want or need you hissing in my ear all the time. Just go away." Deceit pouted. "But Patton, dearest, why would you send me away when I'm the only person you could trust?" "Push, push, push," Patton scoffed. "Trust you? A dishonest man you could always trust to be dishonest," Deceit quoted. "Honestly, it's the honest ones you should watch out for." He had no excuse for the shameless pop culture references. He just loved Pirates of the Caribbean. Patton sighed. "Pirates of the Caribbean?" he asked. And Deceit could see the walls lowering, could see Patton softening, could see his way in. What had pegged you for the type? He was getting in. He was getting through to Patton. There's so much deception and backstabbing in those movies. Deceit responded coldly. How could I not love them? Movies aside, the quote is relevant. Time to step it up. I am not honest, but you could trust me to be dishonest. Can you trust the others, Patton? Can you trust that they won't lie to you and hurt you and twist you around their fingers? Patton's head lowered, his chin touching his chest, and he chewed on the bottom lip. Deceit could see the thoughts behind those brown eyes. Patton was weakening. Patton was doubting. Patton was darkening and breaking and giving in, and it was glorious. It was taking too long, causing too much trouble.
Deceit wanted Patton to surrender now, without fight, without a argument. Deceit needed to get to Virgil, but he didn't have time. Tick-tock, Deceit. Patton was quiet, and Deceit was growing impatient. How far in denial did the light set have to be? He opened his mouth to push some more, but Patton raised his chin, looked right into Deceit's eyes, and said, "You don't bother me." Deceit hummed, the playfulness suddenly gone. He didn't have the time or the patience for this. He loved to play games, but only when he was winning, and he wasn't sure what he was winning this one. "And yet, I bring out your anger," he hissed. "I bring out your aggression. I bring out everything you despise in yourself. I think, Patton, and wonder why it is that you're always so defensive around me. Denial is a wonderful thing." "You don't bother me." "Do you want me to lie to you, Patton? Do you want me to say that I won't break your friendships apart? That I'll leave you alone? That I'll forget about Virgil? Do you want me to say that I'll let Thomas forget me so you can feel better about yourself?" "You don't bother me." Deceit bared his teeth, eyes alight with savage wilderness. "You won't ever outrun this," he swore. "That is the truth you must bear." He let the shadows swallow him and pretended he didn't hear a clock ticking somewhere in the darkness. And that's a wrap, folks. Since it's probably going to be like maybe a month, maybe 2, until I have enough chapters to do another video, what I'm probably going to do is I'm going to start another book. It's called No Baby Yes. Well, it's 3 books. First book's called No, second book's called Maybe, and the third one's called Yes. It's pretty cuckoo. I like cuckoo. Cuckoo. Slurp. So anyway, yeah, that's the thing. And please watch my vlogs. I have like 4 views on each. Please. I love theater. And dear best.